So those of you who are new, we have all our sessions usually recorded on YouTube. Okay, Bismillah. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Welcome to weekly Quranic wisdom study. We read a piece from Imam Nursi last time, and today we are going to read another piece from him. Dr. Yamina is leading the study, and we have the text in front of us, as it was announced in the newsletter as well. This is Flashes, third flash from Flashes, and we have been talking about beautiful names of God and how to see them around the world, and also how to see them internally, and also become channels for reflecting beautiful names of God and climbing up the ladder into the love of God. And so we will continue that conversation this time with third flash, inshallah. As usual, you are welcome and encouraged actually to join in with your comments and questions. The text is before us. You want to both unpack the verse in this chapter and also get a sense of how to approach this text by Imam Nursi. So it has to be hands-on as much as possible. So please join in with your comments and questions. Without further delay, then I turn to Dr. Yamina. Bismillah.
Thank you. أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. والصلاة والسلام على سيد المرسلين وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته. So inshallah, after finishing the 11th word, now we're starting the third flash. There is a whole book that's called Flashes, and this is the third one, and it's related to the name of God, the Eternal, al-Baqi. It's translated as the Eternal in this particular translation. You can also find it translated as the Enduring One or the Everlasting One. So inshallah, it revolves around God being the enduring eternal one, and reflections on an ayah that is mentioned at the beginning of this treatise. And also you will see how it's also about this dhikr or liturgy. It's like a prayer that is well known, that people repeat, which is Ya Baqi Anta al-Baqi, Ya Baqi Anta al-Baqi. And it's interesting, it means, O Eternal One, you alone are the Eternal One. And it's repeated twice, and we'll see what is the wisdom in repeating this name of God and repeating it twice, and what's the healing that comes with it. Bismillah. So inshallah, we start the reading. It's the third flash. Now at the very beginning it says emotion and spiritual pleasure. The original is actually hiss and dhawq. So dhawq is not really spiritual pleasure. Dhawq is tasting. And in the 11th word, we got used to this word of tasting of the beautiful names of God. In the tradition, especially in the wayfaring towards God and seeking His wajh, as we are told in the Quran. It's called sayr wa suluk, wayfaring and seeking. Tasting is usually at the beginning of this spiritual journey. So it's really, I looked up for a translation, and just a second, in Wikipedia, it says dhawq, tasting, is direct first-hand experience. It refers principally to the gnosis, ma'rifatullah, knowing God. Gnosis here, because usually we tend to mix knowledge in this culture. Knowing something means knowing about it, having information about something. And that's why tasting is important, because, for instance, if you take a very simple example that is usually given in the Islamic tradition, for instance, honey, you can have read about it, you can have seen it, and it's not the same as someone who's actually tasted it. So it's about this first-hand experience of something. And it says, so it refers principally to the gnosis of God, which is achieved experientially through experience as a result of rigor of empiric spiritual wayfaring. So this wayfaring, this sayr that Maha talked about during Ramadan, this siru, there is the siru that is understood, siru fil ard, on the land, in the land. But this siru, this wayfaring in the land, is supposed to also result in some other spiritual wayfaring. And here, usually when people talk about this wayfaring, it is a spiritual one. It's the spirit has to also move closer and closer to its origin, to what it truly is, and therefore to its Rabb, to its sustainer, and to the reality of life and the hereafter. And here, so in Wikipedia, it says it plays this dhawq, this concept of tasting plays an important role in the epistemology of Imam al-Ghazali. Doesn't say much, that's all. But just so that we know, when we have translations, we're dealing, it says emotion and dhawq and tasting have become mixed in this flash to an extent. So they are part of this, the journey that we're going to go through in this flash, inshallah. And since they're
prepared, does this mean that we should be prepared to also follow it with our emotions and be willing to take?
I think rather than being prepared, it's not like, how do you say? If someone says we're going to see a beautiful place, very exciting something, we may get excited, but when we get there, if it's not, it doesn't feel that exciting. So maybe, but I think more importantly is something that we are going to encounter. So maybe rather than prepare, look forward to it. Look for it, maybe.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And since their exuberance does not much heed the principles of the intellect or the scales of thought, nor conform to them, it should not be weighed up on the scales of logic. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, in the name of God, the merciful, the compassionate. So there's an ayah here, well-known ayah, كل شيء حالك إلا وجهه له الحكم وإليه ترجعون. Everything shall perish except his countenance. To him belong the command, his is the command, and to him you, وإليه ترجعون, to him you return. The two phrases, O Eternal One, you alone are eternal. O Eternal One, you alone are eternal. It's repeated twice. Both express the meaning of the above verse. So these phrases, it's the same phrase but repeated twice. They reflect some of the wisdom, or they catch some of the wisdom in the ayah just mentioned. And they state two important truths. It was because of this that some of the chiefs of the Naqshbandi order compiled some special invocations based on repetition of the phrases and held it to be a concise set of Naqshi supplication. We don't need to understand who these people are. The Naqshbandi order, it's a Sufi order, a tariqa, teaching people to follow the path to get closer to God. It's very one of the most prominent orders in Turkey, for instance, not in other places, but and so apparently these people give importance to this prayer, this supplication, Ya Baqi ant al-Baqi, Ya Baqi ant al-Baqi. And he's saying there is a lot of wisdom in these words. That's why these people made it as a concise set of supplication. When you don't have the concise one means sometimes you don't have the time to go through a whole lots of supplications. So you have like a condensed, a concentrated prayer that contains lots of different meanings. We are interested only in the meaning as far as we are concerned, inshallah. So that when we are calling on God as the Eternal One, we will keep in mind, in heart, in soul, some of these very profound meanings, inshallah. Seeing that the two phrases express the verse's meaning, we shall explain several points concerning the significant truth they state. So because the verse is saying everything perishes except his countenance. And his countenance, we understand from other parts in the Quran, anything that looks to God, to his names, reflects the countenance of God, wajh Allah. And so why? Because he is the only one who is everlasting, ever enduring, and everything else perishes. And these two are connected. So and of course, his is the command, and to him you return. Of course, because everything returns to him, because everything is perishable and perishing, we get to truly experience and confirm and taste that he alone is ever enduring, al-Baqi. So the first point, the first time, Ya Baqi ant al-Baqi, O Eternal One, you alone are eternal, is recited like a surgical operation. And what does this operation does? It severs the heart from everything other than God. This is great. I mean, can you imagine? Because the heart, it's not because, well, we want to have only God in our heart. But why we want that? Because the heart has been created to find peace and satisfaction only in the love of God alone. Anything else that is not eternal, that is not everlasting and enduring, ends up hurting us and being painful. And from this, we understand that's how we are created. We long for everlastingness, and anything that is not everlasting ends up causing us pain. It's
Yamina, shall we read the text first and then unpack it slowly?
Yeah, sure.
In that case, do we have a volunteer to read?
I think we should always have Sarah. I mean, her voice is very soothing and expressive. So Sarah, if you're not available, we look for other volunteers.
Inshallah, I can read, inshallah.
Thank you.
The first point. The first time, O Eternal One, you alone are eternal, is recited. Like a surgical operation, it severs the heart from everything other than God. It is as follows. By virtue of his comprehensive nature, man is connected with almost all beings. Also included in his nature is a boundless capacity to love. For these reasons, he nurtures love towards all beings. He both loves the huge world as though it were his house, and he loves eternal paradise as though it were his garden. However, the beings he loves do not stop. They depart. And he constantly suffers the pain of separation. That boundless love of his becomes the means of boundless torment. However, the fault in suffering such torment is his, for he was given a heart with an infinite capacity to love in order to direct it towards one possessing infinite undying beauty. By misusing it and spending it on transitory beings, he has done wrong and suffers the punishment for his fault through the pain of separation. Thus, the first time he utters, "O Eternal One, you alone are eternal," it severs his attachment to transitory beings. He leaves those objects of love before they leave him, and he is thus cleared of his faults. It declares that love should be restricted to the eternal beloved and expresses this meaning. You are the only being that endures. Everything other than you is transient. My heart cannot become attached to anything transient, for it was created for everlasting love, to feel ardor lasting from pre-eternity to post-eternity. Since those innumerable beloveds are transitory, and they leave me and depart, declaring, "O Eternal One, you alone are eternal. I shall leave them before they leave me. Only you are immortal, and I know and believe that beings can only be immortal by your making them so, in which case they should be loved with love of you. They are not otherwise worthy of the heart's affection." When in this state, the human heart gives up innumerable objects of love. Beholding the stamp of transitoriness on their beauty, it severs its attachment to them. It otherwise suffers wounds to the number of its beloveds. The second, "O Eternal One, you alone are eternal," is both a salve and an antidote to those wounds. That is, "O Eternal One, since you are eternal, that is sufficient. You take the place of everything. Since you exist, everything exists." Yes, the beauty, bounty, and perfection in beings which excite love are generally signs of the truly enduring one's beauty and bounty and perfections, and passing through many veils are pale shadows of them. Indeed, they are the shadows of the manifestations of his most beautiful names.
Thank you, Sarah.
You're welcome.
So the first, "O Eternal One, you alone are the Eternal One," reminds us of cutting off our horizontal relationship to everything else that is transitory and perishing, and therefore causes us pain. If we truly, sincerely are focused on them and love them and put all our hopes in them, and then suddenly they disappear. And there is the second, Ya Baqi anta al-Baqi, O Eternal One, you are the Eternal One, is when we get, once we find the true beloved one, the eternal beloved one, the only beloved that is worth beloving, the only beloved, because not only because he is eternal, because he is the source, with him is the source of all what we loved in those mirror-like created beings. Once we find that vertical connection to our Rabb, to the enduring one, then when we get back, now when we are aware of this connection, our relationship with the world is not horizontal anymore. It is through him, through in his name. And now we are aware of what they are. They are ayat, they are mirror-like, reflecting the shadows of his beautiful names. And so when the more we are attracted to them, the more we love them, the more that love, following what we went through in the 11th word, that world love won't end up as love for things, but love for their maker, their creator. Because what if you are aware it's a mirror, then you look at the true source. If you are aware it's an ayah, then you listen to its message, you taste its message, you experience it. And so the love is directly transformed, or is a love for the eternal one. And that's when our relationship with the world is healed and repaired, because in the first one, it seems like you're not worthy of love, you are transient. Now we come back and say, yes, you are transient. You are the creatures of the beloved. You are mirroring and reflecting his beauty and his perfection. So now the relationship is not horizontal, but the relationship with the world is transformed. They are all reminders. They are all fellow wayfarers in the journey to fulfilling our purpose in life, inshallah. Just wanted to, and then we can go from the beginning, bit by bit, and inshallah, maybe you can also share. If we start from the beginning, and we can share, inshallah. Bismillah. From the beginning of the first point. So if you have any thoughts or any question or any comment or anything, please do share.
For me, as we were reading, like the part that stood out and I sort of needed time was, only you are immortal, and I know and believe that beings can only be immortal by you making them so, in which case they should be loved with the love of you. So beings, and I know and believe that beings can only be immortal by making them so. So being immortal, meaning my connection with them being that satisfying immortal connection. Like this part, I like as Sarah was reading, my brain was like, wait, what does that mean?
Think of human beings. Isn't the soul immortal?
Yep.
Yes.
Yes, yes.
How is it immortal? It's not immortal of its from itself. It's immortal because it is created. It's manifesting, just like when it is alive, it is manifesting the names of living. Because God is immortal, He willed it to give it existence in the after, in the hereafter. Then, so it is. And it is. So it has, and for the rest of the creation, the meaning and the reality, the gist of the reality of everything is always connected to the beautiful names of God. So those things, we don't know how they will manifest again in the hereafter. We know though that we will be able to recognize them. They may be different, as we are told in the hadith, it will be beyond your imagination. You can't even imagine how the hereafter is, but we will be able to recognize things, as it says in the Quran, like the believers will be sitting and talking and they will recognize. Or when, and why will they be able to recognize things? Because in fact, the forms and the names we give things are not the most essential thing. The most essential is that we have all kinds of flowers, for instance. So, and each flower has a name, so we can distinguish them. It's useful to have the names and everything. But at the end of the day, what makes the flower are certain qualities, and those qualities all are based on the beautiful names of God. It is something beautiful, it has a shape, it has color, it has life, it has
beauty.
It has beauty, perfection. And so who says, how would the flowers be in the hereafter? We don't know. But if, or to the extent that we recognize what the flower is mirroring, is reflecting, then we will recognize it there as well. That's why in the Mi'raj for the Prophet ﷺ, we are told in the ayah, ما زاغ البصر وما طغى. Like when he went there very close, قاب قوسين أو أدنى, he was so close, and what he saw there, he did not, how do you say, he was not like when you are too surprised, what's going on here? It means he recognized something. And that recognition is because if we are stuck in the form, then we may not recognize the essence of things. The essence of things is something that will be, has some kind of immortality, because it's just a mirroring something that is from the immortal.
It seems easier, Yamina, to
the body is perishes, but the soul stays, and the soul of our soul is breathed from God Himself. So the soul of everything looks to God, to His countenance. They reflect His countenance. It looks to the beautiful names of God.
So in terms, like the soul, because it's immortal, and while we're living, it manifests the names of, like, you know, the names that are given to it while living. But when the soul passes to the next realm, like,
but it's not immortal of itself.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. So one of the things that I'm just like thinking about is like using the example of my father. Like a lot of times, like still when I see beauty, like, you know, because he was the one who taught me to see beauty. So I always like remember him, like he comes to me right away. Like, you know, when I see something beautiful, then I remember, like, you know, I just see him right away. Like like when I see plants, when everything that he loves, like, you know, or that everything that he reflected, like when I do it or see it, it connects me with him. So what is that? What is that? Is that me connecting with his soul? Is that me connecting with what he stood for? That's the part that I'm not understanding. Like, maybe I don't need to understand it, but but that's where I stopped. Like, that's where I was like, Sarah was reading and I was like, oh, okay, what does this mean? But I like the idea that the soul, like we believe that the soul is immortal. And so what we love here is the manifestations that is given to soul. And when the body leaves, the soul is still immortal. It's just in another place. So the connection. So one of the things that I believe, and please correct me, from Surah Yasin, like as soon as he was killed, he would say he said, like, I wish my people would know. So for me, like, the soul is alive. Like, he sees the people, like, you know, that my father sees me, or like, you know, and sometimes sometimes you connect with them, like in your dream, or you know, something reminds them, but that soul is still there, like it did not go away. So is that a correct understanding according to what Nursi's writing is with that paragraph, or is it a different thing?
If you want, we can start from the beginning and carry on and see. Because he's not talking here about the immortality of the soul. That's another, there's another treatise on that subject. Here is more about everything is transient. And in one way, we can say that transience is a door for us, is a window onto the everlastingness of the sustainer. And at the same time, nothing will go to, he says, but we are going to the end now. At the end, he says, if he exists, sorry.
Let's get to the beginning first, no?
Yeah, but just to answer this, at the end of the paragraph, the second paragraph before the second point, he says, since you exist, everything exists. So since he exists, if he is eternal, then nothing goes to nothingness. There is no nothingness. If things come from him through this world and back to where they come from. We belong to God, and to him we are in a state of returning. This is not only we human beings, but we all creation. And so we are all, if we reflect on how creation comes, especially spring is very good time for this, because you see many flowers last 2-3 weeks, and many have already, they came, they displayed the beauty, the perfection, they left new ones. The lilies are now about to open, the roses are all open. Others, the tulips and everything, they were in the beginning, they're gone. So they're coming and leaving, coming and leaving. And next year they'll come again, so that we don't think, oh, it just happened haphazardly this year. We don't know. It happens again and again, telling us that there is a source from which everything is proceeding. And the fact that they are transient shows clearly, it's an ayah, clearly demonstrates, indicates that the source is eternal and enduring. And also that these things are not, since they're not coming from nowhere, something is giving them existence. They can't be going nowhere, they are going to that existence. So they are all from God, with God, from the eternal, with the eternal. Since he exists, everything exists. Nothing goes to non-existence, to nothingness.
For me, I wanted to connect. I mean, I feel some connection at the part where it says the first time you say al-Baqi and al-Baqi is recited.
Go back there anyway, inshallah. Yeah, let's start from the beginning. Please.
I felt the connection with the Shahada part, especially, you know, I just thought of the first time somebody says the Shahada. You know, when they come into, let's say, the realm of Islam, or they come to understanding, so the power of that first time. And then when we say, you know, when we repeat the zikr of La ilaha illallah, it's also part of cleaning our hearts, you know. But then when we say the Shahada, is part of negating, but here we are affirming something. So that was the connection I felt.
And this affirmation is the result of tasting and witnessing and experiencing the transience of everything. The La ilaha part. So, like La ilaha illallah, La baqiya illallah. And that's what the ayah also says, right? Kullu shay'in haliku illa wajha. So it says everything is perishing, or how was it translated? Everything is, shall perish, save his countenance. So everything shall perish, everything is perishing right now. Sounds like grammatically is affirmative, but actually it means nothing is eternal. Nothing is enduring. La ilaha.
And as if in that La ilaha, we need to negate something that we first thought was the case. So, right, so we always say initially we think that things are the source of power or beauty. So we implicitly think that they are the source. And then there's a moment where they disappoint us. And that's the moment where we realize, wait a second, you are not the source. La ilaha. And then the source must be beyond all of this. Illallah comes. So, you know, one motto of our classes has been, you can't get illallah without la ilaha in the beginning. So like Nursi, I thought of that here as well, that it starts with a surgical operation. Now, in order for something to be cut off, it means there must have been an attachment in the first place. And he says by almost default, this is where we are in life, that we get attached to anything that displays some glimpse of beauty, some glimpse of perfection or benefit. We get attached to it. And he's even saying that we have a limitless, boundless capacity to love. And we get attached to everything that looks beautiful or beneficial or powerful.
We don't have a quota. We don't say, okay, this year I'm done. I can't see anything new, any new place, we don't have quota, subhanAllah. And what you said, in the beginning, when you said you think, we have to be careful that the think there is, as you said, that attachment that we're not even aware of. That's how we are created. We feel an attraction. We are like attracted to. We don't even make an effort when we see something beautiful or has some kind of perfection, whatever the perfection is for different people. And so that beauty and perfection, we have an attachment. That attachment is not like we think that it is the source. No, we don't think. That's why we need to learn to think and reflect. Because we don't think, it seems to us, it feels. Actually, it feels. Most of the time, we're not thinking. That's how it feels to us. Even when we are thinking, like in philosophy, people are really writing and thinking, but the premises are taken for granted. Those premises are impressions, feelings. They are not questioned most of the time. And so here it's about questioning. The La ilaha is, are you sure? Are you sure this is what you are assuming it to be?
And as if there has to be that attachment to start with. you
Yeah,
know,
and then people
set up, you know, like you need to get attached and then feel the pain of the transience.
and then some people, if they either believe in God or or don't deny God, sometimes they get frustrated with God, angry at God. People say, I'm angry at God. How could he do this to me? And just a second, like, oh, what's going on here? And of course, it's not always out of bad intention. It's just you find yourself in really in a very painful place. It's not easy to deal with. That's why you need to learn the La ilaha from the beginning. La ilaha is not just a word. It is something that we need to practice. In this treatise, it has to be practiced for different names, and for the name al-Baqi, the eternal one, the enduring one, the everlasting one, La ilaha is nothing is everlasting, nothing is enduring except you. Can you see how this is as he said, it's a surgery for that attachment that we tend to nurture horizontally towards the world, that ends up coming back to us with lots of pain. Now, if we love God only, and I'm just adding this because there may be misunderstanding, does it mean we've seen the second one is going to repair that, so we will love things in his name? So what does it mean? If someone passes away, we're not going to be sad. We will be sad, but that sadness won't crush us. It will be a sadness that will remind us again of Ya Baqi anta al-Baqi. Alhamdulillah, thank God that you are the Baqi, and it was not that. It's again a reminder of that. And so that sadness is sad, but it's not crushing. There is a sweetness in it. It's not poisonous. It's not, it's not, how do you say? When there is no hope, there's no despair anymore.
Sarah, did you want to say something?
SubhanAllah, I was just going to share, right before halaqah started, I got a message on my phone that there was no memory, so I had to delete some stuff. And I was going through pictures to delete, and I saw pictures of my brother, and I just completely broke. And it was immediately before halaqah, and I just completely felt like shock that he was now a memory and no longer with me. And when halaqah started, I just laid down in surrender and just wanting to listen. And I heard the thought, like, I'm not going to read. Like, I don't want to read. I just want to listen. And subhanAllah, like, the first thing that comes to my mind is, it just goes to show that the compeller really does what he does out of love, mashallah. And the word surgical operation immediately replaced my feeling of heartbreak, because heartbreak is so common in our language, like, oh my, I just feel heartbroken. But surgical operation, it's like open heart surgery. And I mean, especially because being aware of what that looks like in the medical field, it's deliberate and conscious and careful and planned for your well-being. So immediately, like, I just felt that word replaces the word heartbreak, which I think is very just attached to grieving, in just American, English language. So I think surgical operation already is such a beautiful, gentle replacement of just heartbreaking, or like you said, Dr. Yamina, heart-crushing experience, because it already points to cautiousness and care. And even in a surgical operation, there's like numbing that happens, and there's preparation. And in all of those, I can see how I was prepared, prepped, given numbing agent before I even witnessed the death of my brother. And then subhanAllah, even now, like, I can see how, like, a new like a treating agent is given to me through the halakha, right? So that's all for now. Inshallah, more will come after.
Thank you. Yeah, that's thank you for sharing that. The surgery is like you take off the whatever is harmful, and then he said the second Yabaqi and al-Baqi is like an antidote, is like a salve, something to bring the heart back, like heal it. Because now you will go back and love everything and everyone, but in a different way that is not harmful, in a way that is beneficial.
Now I have a question. One of the things I feel that complicates loving is burden that comes with loving. So one thing he's mentioning is the pain of separation. Your beloved is far, or beloved doesn't respond the way you would like him to, or like the love is burdensome, meaning like you love the person, but then you can't help the person. The person might be very sick and you love the person dearly, but there's nothing you can do to have that person. So in those cases, I personally feel very overwhelmed with love, because I feel like, oh my, like I wish I just loved smaller number of people, so I don't have to worry about this friend or that relative or that parent, that like I, and on those moments I go numb. I was like, okay, like I shut off. So and maybe that numbing is what do you think, Dr. Yamina? Maybe that numbing is actually keeping me away from undergoing the operation, because when there is the pain here, that's when I say, you know what, this is too painful, this way of getting attached to things, and I love them and I can help them. No, I can't help them. It's no use. Like this love is pain. And then when he says in the first go, you say, you know what, I don't want the love of anything. I just want the love who doesn't need my maintenance, who doesn't expect from me things that I can't do. So okay, fine. You know what? I'm gonna sever this attachment from everything. So that
Possible.
Huh? And
That's only deceiving oneself.
So how does it? So there, I have a moment of numbing that amounts to this. But then when he says here, the heart says, "I'm going to leave them before they leave me." It's a different kind of surgical operation.
Here is different. I'm going to leave them. Leave
this kind of loving.
I'm not going to love anything. The answer to that is coming in the second Yabaqi and al-Baqi.
But before the second, first happened.
It means I am not going to love them as the source of anything, because they are not because I don't want this pain anymore. The pain and the no pain is the result of how we relate to things. It is not the aim or the goal, but it is also a sign that something is not going on the right way. So it is a sign, like a red light. The pain is like a red light, but we don't do it because we don't want pain. No, because the truth is that person is not the source of anything. So it's not that we are not loving in the same way. We are not loving, we're not looking first at the person in the same way. So our love for them will also transform. Of course, it has to start with how we perceive ourselves first, but for the moment, it's about how we perceive the world. if we start saying, like praying for that person and remembering that this world is transient, the whole world is transient. So our love for the person starts transforming. And so there is sadness. It's not like, for instance, someone is very ill and like an elderly parent or grandparent or something that you love dearly. So if it is like my horizontal, it's really very painful. Before even the person departs from this world, the thought that anytime that person can depart and I can't do anything about it. It's, the pain is more than the pain of separation. There is also underneath it the greater pain of my, how vulnerable, how, remember 11th word, it's all about faqr and ajz, how helpless and powerless I am. I have all these needs. I want all my beloveds to be well, and I can't do anything. You know what? I can't do anything about myself either. And this reminder is really, really the most painful. Unless I start making peace with this reality that this is who I am. And that idea or that illusion that I somehow have control over my life and this and that, and I can help others, I can do that. And it's all my own delusion. I can only help in his name, as in his name and through by his permission. I am alive in his name, by his will, through his sustaining, through his permission. And this is true for everything we do. The more I'm aware of this reality and I make peace with it and I start tasting and enjoying the beautiful names of God through this being or abd, meaning making peace with my powerlessness and needs, and the needs become that key to the beautiful names of God, the more that will reflect on how I relate to the world, and in this case to another person. So when I relate, so I won't be like, oh my God, this person is sick, they're going to die and I can't do anything. I am not their Rabb, they have their Rabb. Why? Because I know I have a Rabb. He is the Rabb of everything and everyone. So I am praying for them. I want the best for them. I love them. And I don't go in a state of despair or in a state of trying to ignore the reality that they're getting weaker and weaker. Tomorrow, I may be in that state too, but it's okay. Why it's okay? Because he is all powerful, he is all merciful, he is the eternal, he has even my feeling of wanting the best for my beloved ones is from him. The fact that they are my beloved ones, I love them, is from him. So who am I to question his wisdom? And the more I know him this way through my own rububiyah, the more I know his rububiyah, the more I can entrust myself to him. I will be able to entrust my beloveds and the whole world to him. While I am loving them, while I am helping them, I am aware that I am made to love them, I am made to care for them, I am made to pray for them. And so there is no state of despair and trying to run away from the reality. The whole relationship transforms.
So, like, subhanallah, Yamina, like what you were saying, I love the part about like the more, like, I am made to love them, I am made to pray for them, because I remember like a personal experience, a painful experience. I spoke about it before a long time ago. And my reaction to it, that it like for a while, I'm a very social person, but for a while, because it was so painful to be like, to be hurt through like a relationship that you love people and then that they hurt you. So my reaction was to not like to distance myself from people. Like, so that reaction was like to protect myself. Then like my like the easy way to protect myself, okay, then like, I'm gonna stop being like the person who's like, going out of their way to talk to people. It's like, and I stopped it, I think, for 2 years. And that was my reaction. Like, but if I like, and that was a very painful, like those 2 years were really, really painful. So like if then I could think that like, that I'm made to love people, I'm made to pray for people. Like, it's not like I am the one, it's like as if I own the love I gave them and I'm not going to give it anymore. Like, it's like I am like, it's like I didn't say anything, but of course, like it felt like I did these people good. They are doing me bad. It's unfair. Then I'm not gonna do anyone any good. I'm gonna cut my relationships with everyone. So without knowing, like my pain was coming from I am the source of this love and care. And because I am the source of this love and care, then to protect myself, then I would not love and care anymore, which you can do for 2 years, but you cannot do it forever. Like, so
even for 2 years, I suspect.
How do you respond to this? Sorry, I did not hear it. Can you say it again, Isra?
I don't think you could do it even for 2 years. Knowing you thought you decreased it, but
yeah, but what do you respond? Like, it's not only me. Like, I hear my same journey in a lot of discussions.
Yeah.
So what would you say to someone who's in this journey?
Actually, I
can add to that question, Yamina, just for you. So it's similar to what I was asking. The numbing response is quicker with me. Aliyah takes her time and thinking. In me, numbing comes right away. Like, things are, leaving me. I just want to numb and not connect. So how do we apply that to the second paragraph here? That diagnosis. However, the fault in suffering such torment is his, for he was given a heart with an infinite capacity to love, in order to direct it toward one possessing infinite, undying beauty. And you misused it, and so that's the pain is a signal that something is wrong here. So how do we apply this to this, Yamina?
Okay, so the problem is not as simple. It's not black and white here, or let's say it's not one dimensional. There are many things going on here. If I am guessing right, I probably was present when all that was going on with Aliyah. I think so, right? And actually, you may think you were for 2 years, but it's one of the things that I learned that impressed me a lot with Aliyah is that so there is these people who are coming out of town, and they have friends in the town. Suddenly they came and they were going back. They were supposed to go back the same day. But something happened and they had to stay the next day. And they were having dinner at Aliyah's house, and I was there. And no one, they have lots of friends, no one invited them or said you can stay here. But Aliyah, of course, if someone is at her home, they stayed there. But those people were among these people who caused her heartbreak. So I was very, very impressed. This is one of the things that I learned from Aliyah and her family and her husband as well. Very, very hospitable. I remember Aliyah's husband once, these people come to visit Aliyah, and he doesn't say Aliyah is not here. Came and got all the table ready and everything. And afterwards he said he was on the phone calling Alia in a conference in Egypt, I think, and put her on the phone to speak to us. I mean, the other people came from out of town, but I just was with them. I lived in the same town that time. And he didn't tell them that she was not there. So then we all learned that that day Alia was not there. Subhanallah. Very, very very generous people. So here it's, yes, there is an element of horizontally relating to people, and we all have that. That's why it's a journey in transforming those relationships into vertical. So we're still relating to the same person, but the relationship is actually vertical. We, in our ghafla, in our mindlessness, it feels to us as if it is vertical. It's like I have my phone with me right now, and because I can call anyone, if I don't keep in mind that this is a phone and it works only when you are connected through a server, then it feels like I can call anyone, I can connect to everyone horizontally, but it's not true. This phone only works as a phone when it is connected to the server. And so it is with all beings. So we need to learn to connect to everyone and everything, not only human beings, but everything and ourselves as well, through our connection with God. When we are aware of our connection with God, it is then when we become aware of everything's connection to Him. So that's why we need to work on our connection. That's why we need to do our exercises, the 20 minutes, at least 20 minutes, and also twice a day, and also be more present during the 5 daily prayers. Present, and being present is one of the salat is not valid if we don't feel in the presence of God at least once. So it is important, because otherwise we are not connected. Now, so this looks to us. And when we relate to people in this way, then when they harm us, because it doesn't mean that we harm people, they may harm us, we can take wrong decisions, they can. So it doesn't mean anything that hurts me is because I did something wrong. But it's, let's say someone hurt me. That hurt is also going to take me back to my relationship with God, my relationship with myself, and therefore with my Rabb, and revise how I am being in the world, and therefore how I relate to others. In that instance, for instance, how do I respond to them instead of reacting? I can react. Some people react like me, Alia, by pulling themselves, and some people react by being angry or doing something. But in fact, we need to respond with wisdom and mercy. Imam Nursi, somewhere else, he says, there is, in every relationship, there are 3 aspects. One looks to the other person. I can't do anything. I can't change the person. I can only pray for them. The second one looks to Qadar. Qadar means this is happening by the will of God. It has a purpose. It's not happening haphazardly. Once I am aware, once I remind myself of this, but this is happening for a purpose, it's happening, someone willed it, my Rabb, my merciful, compassionate, wise Rabb willed it, then it changes everything. Then the third one looks to me. When I forget about the connection with the creator, the maker, the sustainer, it becomes between me and that person. How come you do this to me? But when I'm reminded, when I remember the connection, now it becomes, it's easier to not be as hurt. That hurting is going to be an ayah to something. So because it's an ayah, when I am aware of it as an ayah, when I listen to it, what is your message to me? I learn from it, then it leaves, because that's it. That was the purpose of its creation. And so I don't carry it with me for years and years. I learned, maybe I was being too, I don't know, sometimes by being too kind or too giving to some people, they take you for granted. So maybe I need to pause and see what I am doing, because by too giving in the sense of as if I am the giver. Just a second, they have their Rab. Especially like with children, it's easier to, because with adults, context is going to change everything. A child, you are not always going to be compassionate. If you keep helping the child is trying to climb a chair, you help him. That child will not learn anything. Let him make an effort. Keep an eye. Make sure there is nothing around to harm him, but give him also some autonomy, to do something. So sometimes we think we are being compassionate, but then we realize, oh, maybe I overdid it because I forgot that it's not me. It could be. In any way, it is an opportunity to revise our own attitude towards people, and that pain is an ayah. So that pain doesn't last when we get but it doesn't absolve the other person. It doesn't make them into, maybe I will realize that my response will be not to cut off with everyone, because why? One person is guilty, the other people have nothing to do with it. We need to have that wisdom to differentiate. Some people are ungrateful, but some people are very grateful. We can't put them in the same bag. We can't have the same attitude towards everyone. And so we keep, let's say something easy, the person is ungrateful. Okay. So if it's someone very close to you, someone in the family, you will have to deal with it and try to teach that person, or at least, but if it's outside, we don't have the responsibility to teach everyone or to reform everyone. We're just busy reforming ourselves. So we can pray for that person, but it doesn't mean that I will put myself again and again in the same situation. That won't be wise. But I find in my life, praying for everyone helps me. Inshallah, it helps them as well, because their Rabb is in charge of them. But at least it helps me clear that relationship. And if we have to be in a kind of relationship, it makes it easier for me to be wiser, kinder to them, without being a pushover, but without also, how do you say, trying to retaliate or, so it helps me personally keep that balance. But it doesn't mean that now everything is in the name of God, therefore you are ungrateful, or you're a bully, I let you bully me because it's in the name of God. No. So that's why I said there are layers going on here. So that particular example doesn't fit, well, it fits from one aspect only. Here, when it's saying the fault in suffering such a torment is this, here you can apply this, for instance, for a child, for a flower, for a beautiful, I don't know, something beautiful outside that has no will. You apply it to it. For instance, I don't know, a forest, and the forest is destroyed.
Or your youth, your past, you know, when you look at
youth, yes,
it really makes me sad.
All youth is gone. If it makes me really, really, if it's painful, then it is, that pain is because of my mindless attitude, because of my ghafla. In my ghafla, I'm relating to it in a way that is causing me pain. So it's saying by misusing it, so the fault in suffering such torment is his, because he was given a heart with infinite capacity. We know that we have infinite capacity because we don't have a quota. I won't be able to love anything else this year or something. Everyone is like that, with infinite capacity, in order to direct it towards one possessing infinite, undying, everlasting, eternal beauty, perfection. By misusing it meaning by spending it on passing, transitory, perishing beings, he has done wrong and suffers the punishment for his fault, because now he's stuck in the horizontal. Actually, the horizontal connection does not exist. It exists only in our imagination, in our deluded imagination, in our delusion. And so suddenly, what we thought was there is taken away, and we start wailing and crying. But actually, that relationship was never horizontal. It was always vertical. Now, when the same thing leaves, if I am aware of the relationship, the vertical relationship, there is sadness, but now I know that that thing left, but not forever. We will again meet. So it's very, very different. And if someone is right now, for instance, sick or very weak or very needy of something, it hurts. Of course, if it didn't hurt, we wouldn't take any action, we wouldn't pray for anyone, wouldn't have connections with the rest of the world. So it's good that it hurts, but that hurt it's a pain that makes us pray, that makes us help, that makes us take action, and so it's good. But it's not a pain that is that leads us to despair, because there is it's more than hope, it's certainty. Hope is when we don't deny, but we're not sure. But when we have Iman, and when we taste and experience that Iman, the more certain we are, the more we surrender and we trust that God, our sustainer, the merciful one, the eternal one, is taking care of everything here and now and forever. And that certainty, that belief is what makes that sadness not lead us to despair, but it makes it sweet at the same time, because that sadness is what makes us seek his help, seek his compassion, seek his everlastingness even more, and be grateful even more. Shall we carry on with the text?
Yes, inshallah. Maybe we go for another 10 minutes?
Inshallah.
Inshallah. Thank you.
So I think this paragraph is going to, it summarizes what we've been talking about. It says, thus, the first time he utters, O Eternal One, you alone are eternal. It severs, it cuts his attachment to transitory beings. And that attachment is that illusory, horizontal connection that we imagine in our ghafla. Because we have not questioned, we have not gone through La ilaha la baqiya illallah. He leaves those objects of love before they leave him. So he leaves them. He is going to come back to them and love them in a different way. But the first love, the attachment we're talking about here that we are leaving, is the attachment of you, I can't do without you. You are like, I can't live without water, I will die. Yes, but like water doesn't exist. I can die even with water. So there is a very misleading, misleading or misguided perception of water, of money, of this, of that. And we always think, without it, I will perish. As if, and without realizing, we're saying, this is a small God, it is a small Rabb. I need it. That attachment, that's why the heart is so attached to it. And so that attachment is what we are leaving here. We are going to relate to those things, but in a new way afterwards. So we are getting rid of the misguided, deluded, let's say, attachment.
Mm-hmm. One example that comes to my mind as a kind of symbolic example is the case of this woman who gave a talk in which she talked about her father, and they were very, very close. And she said, my father was my hero. But now the father had gotten very old and he got Alzheimer's and he started acting strange. And she was so like broken. She was like, this can't be, like, this is my hero. I can't see him, like he was so talented, so amazing, so fabulous. Now he's acting strange and forgetting things. She even said in the talk, she even said it was so painful for her to see him like this that she wanted to put him to death sleep, like, give him something and kill him.
People say, if it happens to me, put me in. They leave a wasiya.
Yeah, but she said, I can't see him. It was too painful for her. And she justified, she said, if he also, knew what he has become, he would also agree with this. And then of course her sister said, don't be ridiculous. She wasn't gonna do it, but like that, it sounds very, very extreme, but also that shows how the heart, when we are so attached to the things in their own name, as if you are the source of the beauty that you're manifesting, then the heart just can't gets a lot of pain. And this is like cut that way of loving, like the Ibrahim alayhi salam in the Quran, Abraham.
Yes. So,
but Assalamu alaikum, sorry. What is wrong with the heart being so much in love with a friend and so on? I do have issues with this. I tend to love others passionately, and at the back of my mind, I'm always thinking, I don't think I will ever bear losing my friend or losing a family member. So I know God is the eternal, but these feelings are still in me, and I just there's got to be a purpose for them.
There is nothing with the heart and nothing wrong with the love in the heart. It's all about our perception of ourselves and things. Think of it, I'm simplifying things, okay? If you have a mirror, and in the mirror there is someone speaking to you, unless you are aware. If you're not aware it's a mirror, you will never go around and look where is the person reflected in the mirror, right? Yes or no? If you're not aware it's a mirror.
I understand. Yeah.
Let's say the person is just like in the same room, but you're always facing the mirror and the reflection of the person. You're talking and everything. Now suddenly something happens, the mirror breaks. Your heart breaks if you appreciated that person. But the person is still there. And the person starts laughing. Let's say, I'm making it up. Why did you feel that heartbreak? Because we thought that the reflection in the mirror was the person itself. Actually, that was the reflection of the person. If from the beginning here it's saying, Ya Baqi and al-Baqi, it means, what do you love there? You love some kind of perfection, some kind of beauty. Friendship, gratitude, appreciation, validation, they're all perfection. Some kind of values and perfections. They all go back to the beautiful names of God. That person is the mirror to some the shadows or some reflection of the divine names. The heart is created to love the divine names, nothing wrong with that. The only thing that is here that I have to say, La ilaha, this is a mirror, it's not the person. This is a mirror, it's not the names of God, it is not God, it is not the source of this beauty. Once I do that, then the love will come back. The more I love my friend, the more I say, Subhanallah, Alhamdulillah, MashaAllah, the more my love for God increases and my appreciation for my friend as being a mirror and a channel to that mercy, to that beauty from God, not from her, is going to also, my love of God is going to increase. It's like there is a postman keeps bringing me gifts from a friend, but I have no notion of postman. Oh, I will say this postman is I will start feeling grateful to the postman. The postman is very generous. And I'm very grateful and I very appreciate it. The moment they tell me, no, this is just a postman, look at the package and who is sending it to you, I see my friend's name, and now all my appreciation, all my gratitude goes where? Suddenly to my friend. So it is about perception. As we know God, our heart's direction of the love we have no control over it, but where it is directed to will change. So I'm still grateful. I appreciate the postman as a postman, but not as the one who is giving me the gift. So I appreciate my friend as a mirror, as a channel, but not as the source of the gifts, of the beautiful names, the beauty and the perfection reflected through our interaction. The more, and that's why La ilaha illallah is so important. Unless I say La ilaha, this friend is a beautiful mirror, unless I am aware of this, then I am bound to be, in the first case, he says, feeling that despairing, pain and suffering. Otherwise, there will be no attachment to the person. There will be love and appreciation for that person, because that person could blocked the beauty and the perfection, but they didn't block them. I appreciate that. I appreciate them, and my love for my sustainer sending me all this beauty and this goodness to this friend increases and increases. Alhamdulillah, Alhamdulillah for whatever is coming through my friend, Alhamdulillah for this friend. And so when I lose this friend, the beauty and the perfection is carrying on through friends, through all kinds of things. Maybe someone I still don't know now will be my friend. I don't know that. Will there be no sadness? There will be sadness, but there will be no like despair. The world ended, friendship ended. No, a friend. And I know that this friend went to that God that I love. It's like a friend, my friend now traveled to a beautiful place. So yes, I miss that friend, but I'm very happy for her and I am looking forward to join. So the perception is the problem, not the heart, not the love, nothing. It's my misperception. My perception that is in deluded perception when I'm in ghafla, when I have not done the work of La ilaha illallah, La baqiya illallah, La muhibba illallah, La waduda illallah. That's why the Shahada is so central. The Shahada is so central. And we think we are doing the Shahada because we say the word. Shahada means you have to witness it, you have to taste it, to experience it, and the more we do that, the more we will feel, it will feel less painful and less painful, and that sadness itself speaks to us. That sadness itself is an ayah. It makes us long for the hereafter. It makes us not fear death, because death is the door now to that realm where we will meet all the beloveds.
You actually can feel free, right?
Yes, yes.
We couldn't hear you, Nartila.
I was going to say, the cutting of all the attachment, is going to make one feel free, ultimately. I don't know.
In a sense, yes. Free of all those, that anxiety and fear of losing, of separation and losing our beloved ones. And losing not only our own life, or before we die, losing where we're getting older, we're losing our health, our youth, our...
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing. It's brings on us a whole new sense of like freedom.
Yes.
So you're basically, everything that you love, everything that you get attached to is for the sake of Allah, and it points only to Allah.
It's what takes us to God. So our attachment becomes an attachment to God, an appreciation of everything else as his ayat, his channels, his mirrors, mirroring his beautiful names. Whatever we look at, especially things that we appreciate, we look at a friend, a beloved friend, and we see the face of God. And so the more we love God through that friend, the more we will love that friend in the name of the true one beloved. The eternal, everlasting beloved. So he says it severs his attachment to transitory beings. He leaves those objects of love before they leave him, and he is thus cleared of his fault. It declares that love should be restricted to the eternal beloved and expresses this meaning. You are the only being that endures. Everything other than you is transient. My heart cannot feel ardor, cannot become attached to anything transient, for it was created for everlasting love, to feel ardor lasting from pre-eternity to post-eternity. And that love is so much that we can see that a transient beloved cannot satisfy, cannot be the object of that so much love. Since those innumerable beloveds are transitory and they leave me and depart, declaring, O Eternal One, you are eternal, you only are, alone are eternal. I shall leave them before they leave me. Only you are immortal, and I know and believe that beings can only be immortal by your making them so. They can only be beautiful by you making them so. They can only be living by you making them so. They can only be knowing by you making them so. They can only be existing by you making them so. You can apply this sentence to all the beautiful names of God. And I know and believe that in which case they should be loved with love of you. So it's not saying you shouldn't love things. No, coming back, and that deluded attachment, that deluded perception of ghafla is what we want to leave. But otherwise, in which case they should be loved with the love of you, being aware that you, if there is beauty there, it's your beauty. So I am loving them because you make them beautiful. So my love is going to go primarily to God, and then I love them as the mirror to your beauty, to your perfection. They are not otherwise worthy. It means in themselves, if I cut the relationship with the Eternal One, with their maker, then there is nothing in them that can be loved. From themselves, they have nothing. When in this state, the human heart gives up innumerable objects of love, beholding the stamp of transitoriness on their beauty. You see the flowers, after 2 weeks, they started wilting. And some of them, they wilt and that's it. But like some, like they're a little more enduring. Like roses, they last the whole summer. They're still at the end of summer. In fall, there will be no roses. But now also, you see a new buds, new ones coming, and the old ones are all wilting. So that is the stamp of transitoriness on their beauty. It severs its attachment to them. So this beauty is not from them, otherwise it wouldn't leave. They are like mirrors or channels. They are ayat. That's what an ayat is. If it otherwise suffers wounds to the numbers of its beloved. If we don't do this, then every beloved, before it leaves the knowing, the idea that of separation, that one day either it will leave or I will leave it, is itself painful. The second, Ya Baqi and al-Baqi, O Eternal One, you alone are eternal, is both a salve and an antidote for those wounds. The second, that's why there is a second one. The first one cuts the relationship with everything, the false relationship. The second one reestablishes the healthy relationship and connection with everything in his name. That is, O Eternal One, since you are eternal, that is sufficient. You take the place of everything. Since you exist, everything exists. Everything is beautiful in your name. Everything is lovable in your name. Everything is mirroring Wajh Allah. Wherever you turn, there is Wajh Allah. Yes, the beauty, the bounty, the perfection in beings, which excite love. This is fitri. It's not like someone loves them and someone does. Everyone loves something. Are generally signs, they are ayat to the truly enduring one's beauty and bounty and perfections. And passing through many veils, they are pale shadows of the Eternal One's beauty and perfection. Indeed, they are like shadows of the manifestation of his most beautiful names. Realizing that these things that we love so much are the shadows of the shadows makes the heart very excited, because can you imagine if we love so much the shadows of the shadows, how about the original? Then you feel really, really, really looking forward to departing from this world to the eternal world of Akhirah, inshallah. Bismillah. You look forward to it.
So inshallah, we pause here to continue next week. But before we close, I know the time is already past, but is there anyone who would like to share for a minute or two, anything that you would like to share, any comment or any questions that we can carry to the next session, or
a question. You always talk about appreciating the beauty of flowers, the beauty of things. I know Allah is perfect and everything is created in perfection, but what about, beings that were born with developmental disabilities or whatever, handicap? I mean, it really takes the mind a while. Being a mother of special needs kids, I had to learn the hard way that to appreciate the beauty in their special needs. So it seems to, and as you're talking about this and loving the beauty and things and their reflections, my mind is like working very hard trying to figure out, okay, where is the manifestation of the divine in my child who is severely autistic? And the first thing that came up to my mind is the beauty of angels. Angels are there to follow the command of Allah. And so that's the first thing that came to my mind, because she is my angel.
MashaAllah, she definitely is.
I mean, the profound question and heartfelt question, Sister Huda.
Can I share something related to that? Assalamu alaikum.
Yes.
Yeah, actually, I had a neighbor. I think I had shared this story before as well. I had a neighbor whose son was blind, and I was like, I was telling Sister Ali also. I think I told her this thing that he had he used to call me auntie, and I used to learn Bengali from her. Like, he was 5-6 year old, but he used to think he's my teacher, because he would teach me some Bengali words, and he used to love me. And I got hurt in my finger, I think that time, yeah. And he he felt, he used to touch and feel things. So he touched and he said, "What is this, auntie?" I said, "I got hurt." And I came back home, and like they were next door neighbors. I used to visit them quite often. So next time when I went again, he was so curious, and he asked, "Auntie, how's your hurt? You know, are you fine now? Is it painful?" And this and that. So like that touched me so much. I said, "I've been hurt. My kids never bothered to ask me, like, Mama, did you get hurt? How did you get hurt?" But this child has special sensitivities towards people, you know. So small things he would appreciate. And so Allah gives, if he takes something away, then he gives something else for us to see. We might not be able to see it, but these kids have other gifts, you know. He was very sensitive and very loving. I like for my kids, I wished they had the same sensibility and sensitiveness as he had. But alhamdulillah, they have been given other faculties to show their love. But that child, like still, like he wrote, they left this town, they visited, he wrote in Braille a letter for me and brought it to me when he visited me. So I was thinking, like, these kids are each creation of Allah. There are so many gifts in it. Just we need to open our maybe see those gifts, and that was my reflection.
Thank you for sharing, Ziba. It's all about comparing. We don't see, when we compare two things and we are already rightly or no or not, that's another issue. For instance, if we are asked, do you prefer to see or not to see? We are made to prefer to see. But if we don't see, then, as you said, other faculties that we have in us gets to be developed more in someone who doesn't use his sight, because he doesn't rely on his sight. He relies on his on their hearing and other feelings, and to cope in their life, let's say. But the whole thing is, once I start comparing, I cannot appreciate what I have. It's like if someone is wealthier than me or healthier than me. If I keep comparing with that person, I will never be able to appreciate what I have. So each creation in itself is a creation, and therefore it is a mirror to the beauty and the perfection of its creator. The very fact that they are created. Now, not even human being. If we take, we said a flower compared to an animal or to a human being, is, we don't feel as much attachment because there is less life manifesting in. If a flower dies, we don't feel sad. But if a cat, especially if you are used to the cat, passes away, you feel sad. So the more life, more attachment, horizontal or vertical is different, but there is sadness. Now, even a cat compared with human being, I'm saying even, doesn't a cat or another small animal or even a fly reflect all kinds of perfections and beauties? So a human being, however you think that human being is handicapped or whatever, even if the person can't express themselves or articulate it, just by looking at them, if we stop comparing them with anyone, They are a comprehensive channel and or mirror to many, many beautiful names of God, to his beauty, to his perfection. But if we, in our mind, we have this paradigm is like a box that limits how we look at things, or like, or you can think of it as tainted glasses. If my glass is tainted blue, I will see everything bluish. So if I start by saying this child, this human being should be like, I have something else in my mind, I am not going to be able to relate to the person, to that person as they are, and start appreciating them as they are. I've seen, for instance, once a friend with a, how do you call them, with Down syndrome, an elderly woman. I was staying at the hospital with someone to look after someone, and the next room was this elderly woman whose youngest child, I mean, he was a young man, but he had, not only he had Down syndrome, but he also could not walk. The one she missed the most was him, and when he came, he was, you could feel like how much she loved him and how much he loved his mother. And she kept saying, when he was born, how very depressed and very sad and cried. She cried for a long time, but eventually she bonded with him more than the other children, especially when they grow up. And this one remained at heart, always like a child. And subhanAllah, he loved praying, and he loves listening to someone who is praying. So when he came there, he didn't know us, but he was just like smiling and to everyone. So you felt like, as you said, like an angelic presence. But afterwards, when we talked with her, she said, the first few years, now I am asking God for forgiveness, because the first few years I was very angry and very sad. And why did you give me this child? It was like a burden. What am I going to do with him? But he ended up, she said, now that I'm in my old days, he is my joy. Allah sent him to her for nothing is created without purpose, without mercy, without wisdom. The whole thing is about us making peace with what is. Some people have an illness, some people have don't have children, some have children who are causing them headaches, some have children who have a special situation. When we know God as our sustainer, the one who gives me the love for health, the love for perfection, the love for beauty is he, and he gave me this child or this situation or this kind of body or this illness or whatever, or he created me in a particular family or in a particular place in the world where there is no peace now, for instance, or something. The more I know him, the more I trust him. The more I know him and make peace with that, because I can know him and say, I am not going to surrender. The more I know him and surrender, that's a choice, then I will come to trust. And when I trust, then things that I was not aware of, I will be able to see them, perceive them, feel them, experience them. People who, it's like they say sometimes you can bring the best in people or the worst in people. And that's from our niyyah, our intention, and therefore our attitude. And it's the same for a child. It's even the same for a cat or something. If they know you don't like them, they don't like you. I've seen that with a monkey as a children. A neighbor had brought a monkey. You can find monkeys in the forests in Algeria. And sometimes he used to go to the neighbors and their gardens and maybe steal some eggs or something. But one of the neighbors was really angry with him, and every day she used to say, you know, keep your monkey, you know, don't leave him roaming around because he can go to people's gardens and things. And because he knew her, I mean, he didn't go to anyone's garden causing problems, but I remember once, because we saw him doing it, she just put her laundry out. And as soon as she got in, he went and took all the pegs, and all the laundry was down on the ground. So he knew that she didn't like him. You would say, oh, it's a monkey, it's an animal. No. So if we keep feeling pity for someone, that person is not going to feel good about them. It's like, I think it was a book. I have not read the book, but I remember just looking at the cover. It was a grandmother. She was actually, I think she was an MD, and if I remember correctly, and the book was How I Healed My Grandson with Love. And the grandson was an autistic child. And I read another book where the child was severely autistic, and he ended up going to college. And of course he was not, but he had other, how to say, gifts that if he went to normal school for children with special needs, the mother, who was a teacher, realized that the child was getting worse and worse. And so she decided to teach her child. And instead of teaching him whatever you teach other children or having expectation, always comparing them, she was talking in her book about how the system itself is comparing with other children, what children are supposed to do at this age, and trying to make that child do it. Her system, actually I read it because I found her approach can be used for all kinds of situations. She was watching the child, learning from him, and then trying to help him, instead of saying, you should be learning this, you should be doing this. And the child, you can see how slowly the child opened up, and the child who couldn't speak or couldn't look someone in the eyes or something changed quite much. Because I've seen a video afterwards. It's actually from the video I found the book. So it's all about comparing. Comparing is always going to limit us. We compare ourselves to others and we feel bad about ourselves. And instead of focusing on what God gave us and what we can do and what our purpose in life is, we are comparing about what the others are doing and why am I not doing it, and things like that. So I think comparison, do not compare ourselves, do not compare our children to others. Each creation is the best in itself. And however severely autistic a child is, he mirrors perfection. He mirrors, just because he doesn't perceive the world in the way others do, doesn't make him less than them. And it's an opportunity for the parent to learn to surrender. And if you learn to surrender, it's a healing for the parent and a healing for the child.
Inshallah.
And you can check it when you see a child like that or something. Love them, look at them with love, and they respond mostly, not all the time, but lots of them, their parents will say, oh, they never looked at someone or something. Just when you go to the store or something, see a child who looks maybe autistic or something, you just intend to love them and look at them and smile, and most of the time the child answers, responds. I've had like parents saying, oh, I can't believe it, and things like that. She never looks at people, or she's scared of people she doesn't know, or something like that.
SubhanAllah, Yamina.
So,
Like
just quick comment, because we're past 11 o'clock.
I'll just make a quick comment, just like the discussion about water that like Sarah is moderating. Like, so there's like many sharings about like how water, which is all of our body basically, like how water responds to positive thoughts, like, you know, like the crystals form that are more beautiful the more, like even when you're thinking or you're making dry. So when you're looking at a human being with that love, it reminded me of what you said before, Yamina, when, like, you know, in advice, like when you're in a situation or with someone doing something that you don't like, is to prepare yourself by sending out love and prayers to them and thinking about them and sending that to them. So now with all of the water, like, you know, experiments, like it makes sense, like, you know, that, like, you know, that like your thoughts and your prayers would change actually the person in front of you. So people here are thinking about it.
Yeah, on that note, let's is it okay if we pause here? It's 11:05.
Hoda wanted to say something.
I just wanted to share that Habibti Maha shared Ho'oponopo with me, and I've been more mindful of it. And my daughter lives in a different state than me, an adult family home. And I've been so worried about her. And so I've been praying for God to forgive me for the way I treated her when she was young. And then I've also been using Ho'oponopo to ask her for forgiveness. And I cannot tell you guys how proud I am of how she's handling the quarantine. She's special needs. She doesn't understand what's going on around, but she's actually, she loves circles, and she's been spending, you know, most of her day actually drawing little circles and big circles. And I'm seeing her artwork, and to me, it's like a Picasso artwork, you know? So I'm just, I just like, it just asking constantly. I'm here thousands of miles away from her, asking, like, you know, God for forgiveness, and actually also calling out her name and telling her to forgive me. It's just been like really healing, and she's happy. She's happy. So alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. Thank you for sharing, Hoda. Thank you very much. Now we're all gonna send her love. Can you tell me, is her name Maha?
No, her name is Hanan.
Hanan. Okay, then we're all gonna be sending Hanan lots of love.
Name too.
Thank you. Thank you. And I'm sorry if I'm always emotional all the time. I'm just, it just stems from the fact that I've been bottling up a lot of feelings, and now they're just coming more to the surface. So I apologize, please, to everyone for always being so emotional.
It's okay. Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. Yes, thank you for sharing. No need for any apology. Thank you for sharing. And so we will stop here. And inshallah, we'll continue next week. And for sisters, we will have our prayer meeting of this month. Do you prefer Sunday night or tomorrow night? Can I see hands? No, I can't see hands, but you can voice it, like anybody for tomorrow night, which will be Friday night, is religiously, or anyone for Sunday night. So for Thursday, anybody who prefers tomorrow night at 9 p.m. for a 1-hour prayer meeting? Any hands? I mean, any voices?
You say which day? Like which day again?
Either tomorrow or Sunday.
Meaning Jumu'ah or Sunday evening.
So Thursday or Sunday. We had it in Ramadan on Sunday, and it seemed to do well. We had something, so we were not detached like you would. Like we had something in the middle of the week and something in the weekend. But like, inshallah, whatever the consensus.
Sunday sounds good. Okay.
I liked Sunday, but everyone can.
Inshallah. Yeah, I think that will be a nice rhythm to the week as well. So
we will pray for everyone, and we can start praying, adding Hanan and Huda, and of course, all praying for each other. But let's add Hanan to the prayer specifically. And please add me as well.
Inshallah. So, so inshallah, for the sisters, we'll meet Sunday 9 p.m. If brothers want to meet at a certain time, at a different time, and want to use Receiving Nur link, let us know at Receiving Nur. Jazakumullah khair. Dr. Yamina, beautiful session. One person wrote in the chat, I want to read it for you. Sharida said, thank you, Sister Yamina, for this beautiful session tonight. It was uplifting and affirming. Practicing is the journey towards the divine. Inshallah. So we'll stop here and maybe keep each other in dua. And Jazakumullah khair, everyone, for joining us tonight.